Don't fail me now, I need you
Is anyone telling you not to speak?
There were points in time when my ex had reached out and was like, yo, it's over, it's been years, why are you still talking about this? This is about clout. And and first and foremost, putting me and clout in the same, like, it just don't even. First, I don't know nobody that wants to be known as the girl who got punched.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody. So really, I had to understand that he's where he's at, and I've grown and elevated so much from that. Yeah. And that's not a judgment. That's a true observation. Mm-hmm. And it's a true testament, because how dare you think that me speaking about this story or this experience is about you? How are you making it about you?
I've never said a name.
I've never said a name. I've never said, alluded to anything. So, I'd had to see through that. I'd had family members at different points in time. I've had specific artists right now that are being looked at and under microscopes. Huge moguls that have worked their way through family members to try to pay me to not speak about these things. And I can't be bought. My soul can't be bought. I can't be, like, that's not what this is about. Yeah. And really, when you really kind of take a look at that, it's like, if it really was about clout for me, clout comes, I would hope, with a little more. Yeah. So it's like, okay, if I've had things offered to me to stop speaking and I neglected and declined, what would make you think that this is what this is about?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've experienced a bunch of different kind of persuasions, or coming from different entities of, don't speak about it, are you sure, trying to make me second guess my perspectives, my past. But I'm very clear on my path. I'm very clear on who it is that I am. I'm very clear on why I'm here and what I'm doing. And I really don't care about how anybody else perceives that or how it makes anybody else feel. And that's the God honest truth.
Preach, sister. I also want to touch on, because I know there was a specific time that you did travel with your family a lot. Now it seems not so much. And social media, of course, every time they see your family members and you aren't present, where is she? Mm-hmm. What's going on? Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything about that. I really don't. Again, I don't trouble myself with people's thoughts and the internet. That was the case when I was young.
Right.
Just caring about everybody else outside of me. But I will have to say that my stance is that, because, again, people have enmeshed my identity with my sister so much that they actually get mad when I'm doing things for myself.
Being your own person.
When I'm like, literally, and not for nothing, I have played a major role in support in my sister's career, whether it's creatively, whether it's just physically by being there, helping put her team together, the team of people that she has working with her. Not necessarily like her business managers and things like that, but I'm talking about her creative team. Visuals, doing creative direction for things. And, a lot of that, again, going back to what we were saying with family, and people and reciprocity, there wasn't necessarily
doing so
reciprocity
much.
there.
Right,
I was
yeah.
doing a lot, and I was like overspending and over putting my energy and my time there,
Yeah.
and wasn't doing anything for myself as an individual. You know, I never really had a job, you know, where I was working a 9 to 5. I probably had like 2 jobs in high school that I begged for because my parents.
You didn't work at McDonald's like us?
I did. I wanted to. And the craziest thing that people think that is so crazy is that, like, I wanted to.
Yeah.
I begged, like, yo, let me work at Cold Stone when everybody else. Let me do that. And everybody was just like, no, Ashanti's sister don't need to be working.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, again, going back to the illusion, going back to the perception, how you look, all of these things. So I, as an adult, began to channel, again, I'm a creatress, so channel my ideas, my visions, and pour everything into my sister.
Yeah.
Into my sister's career. And with there being no reciprocity, how do you expect somebody to grow?
Yeah.
So now when people don't see me around and they get upset, I don't give a fuck.
Because you're doing your own thing.
I'm doing my own thing. I am an individual. I'm my own entity. I am my own essence. And people need to be okay with that.
Absolutely.
People need to be okay with that. You know, so I hear little things. I get wind of little things. And it's just like, I can't be concerned with that. All of that is a distraction for me. It's only trying to pull me from the direction of which I'm going.
Yeah.
And my family and I have chosen different paths. You know, we serve 2 different things. And you can't serve 2 masters.
Right.
You have to choose.
Yeah.
So for me, I've made a choice. I'm clear on the direction that I'm going. I'm clear on who it is that I am. And I need for everybody to be okay with that. And if not, then that's really on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really on you. This unfolding and unraveling was me accepting that 2 perspectives can coexist at one time. That my mom and dad could have done what they felt was best for them at that time as individuals. And I also didn't necessarily have the emotional support and the emotional connection that I needed. And so a part of this evolution and this process with becoming aware and accepting things without desire to change has been for me to accept that 2 perspectives can coexist, and that I don't have to choose between the 2, and that I don't have to force them to choose between the 2. And I feel like that has helped me to elevate to the level of where I'm at today, where I'm no longer bitter, I'm no longer pointing fingers, I'm no longer angry at anybody or making anyone responsible for anything, because ultimately everything went exactly how it was supposed to, you know, in terms of speaking from a higher perspective and me stepping into the person that I am. So I like to say that I thank everyone for forgetting me, because had they not, I wouldn't have found myself, you know. So that for me is pivotal.
Have you forgiven your family and forgiven yourself?
I've definitely forgiven everything and everybody. I think what's really important is to understand what forgiveness looks like. Forgiveness looks like something different for everybody.
Yes.
You know, and for me, forgiveness looks like I'm no longer harboring feelings. There's no emotional cords that are keeping me connected to these experiences and weighing me down. But I'm also no longer navigating and moving the way that I once did.
Yeah.
I'm no longer allowing. You know, I'm taking control of my life.
Boundaries.
I'm creating boundaries. I am practicing my autonomy, and in all facets, in all aspects of my life. I'm an autonomous, sovereign soul. I don't have a soul. I am a soul. I'm not holding on to things and allowing things to keep me weighed down, but I'm not doing things the way that I once did. And that's, I think, the most important thing about forgiveness.
Yeah.
And so, although I didn't have the upbringing that I felt that I needed, everything was still perfect. Like, everything was still perfect. And this is me saying this as the woman I am today, because had I not gone through everything that I've gone through, I wouldn't be who I am today. Yes. So, you know, healing really lies in your perspective, you know, how you see things. And I feel like that's important for a lot of people to know, you know, like you have to begin to reframe things, because people become too overly attached and emotionally attached to certain things, to the point that they are their own monster under their own bed, you know, and I was that at a point in my life as well. When I talk about awareness and when I talk about acceptance and acceptance without desire to change, most people aren't aware that the more that you're holding on to things, and your acceptance still comes with you desiring that things were to be different, kind of keeps you trapped in that experience. Yeah. I think that, you know, it just goes back to what it is that I said about not necessarily looking at something as if it happened to you, but it happened for you. And it happened for you, and you can only see that when you take your emotions out of the equation. When you stop with the, oh, he did this to me though, and this person did this to me though, and I can't stand them because they this, that. If you emotionally just take it back, they taught you something. Now you know never to tell this person your business. Now you know never to share things before you're actually ready, before it's, you know, coming to manifestation, before it's become real. You know, you only learn through your experiences. Yeah. So you getting yourself to a point where you've accepted things, but you accept these things without desire to change them, is only beneficial for you and going to help you expand and grow, you know. And I think that that's important. With taking accountability, I had to closely examine my behaviors. I had to closely look at myself, and this is what people call shadow work. I used to have an affirmation that I kept on my phone that my Reiki practitioner, Michelle, shared with me. And it essentially said, you know, God, please show me what I need to take me through the work. You know, sometimes we don't even know what it is that we're looking for. It's almost like a rabbit hole that you're going down. When you start looking at yourself and really going through that work, there's a lot that's there, that's underlying. There's a lot that we're carrying subconsciously. So when I talk about accountability and I talk about shadow work,
when I talk about accountability and I talk about shadow work, I'm talking about looking at one's self, looking at one's patterns, looking at the cycles that have been playing out throughout life. So with owning your power and reclaiming yourself, have you received any resistance from those around you at all? Absolutely. I absolutely have. I think it's interesting when you begin to walk as your authentic essence and you haven't prior, people around you will become and react differently because they're seeing you differently. Absolutely. And I read something that was really interesting at one point that said something like, you have to grant those people grace because it's almost as if they're experiencing a death of the person that you were. Old you. The old you. Okay.
they are looking for that old person,
Makes
and
sense.
it's no longer there. And when you begin to walk as your authentic essence and you evolve and expand and grow, when you come around to people who may not have chosen to do the same work that you've done, they begin to, it kind of shakes their core a bit. It kind of shakes their very foundation, and it's a reflection of everything that they actually haven't done. So it's a reflection of what the work they haven't done, and it's also kind of painful for them because they're wanting you to be the person you used to be that you can no longer be. So it's quite challenging, and that's something that I feel like everyone should be aware of, that once you begin to wake up to yourself, to your true power, that your environment changes. Your friends change, your family. You may not associate with people the way that you once did. You may find yourself in solitude for some time, in isolation, so that you can really develop a connection with yourself and cultivate the inner convictions of yourself and step in your own power without the programming and the shaping of your upbringing. You know, so that will be family looking at you crazy, family talking about you crazy. I've had family go as far as to say I was under spells, I was under voodoo. I'd experienced family saying, you know, I'm not sound in my mind because I'm walking a different path, because I'm not doing the things that everybody else is doing, because I'm actually spending time daily to connect with myself, my spirit, to learn how to heed to my spirit, to know how to listen and know when to push forward and know when to fall back. You know, I now look at things like there was a certain point in life where I was so running, trying to do this and be this, and I was on a hamster wheel when I was working harder, not smarter. Now, if it don't feel right and it don't align with my spirit, I'm not doing it. I avoid a lot of hiccups and a lot of disconnects and a lot of painful situations by following my spirit and by prioritizing my spirit and by prioritizing my spirituality, you know. And I think that that's very important.
I'm learning so much from this conversation. I swear. I'm gonna go back and be like, everyone's gonna be like, what?
Nah, and that's the thing. Like, I feel like we gotta be open and honest and move from our heart space and our heart center with each other. Everybody's trying to kind of hide and you know not reveal certain things, and I feel like this is how we learn, this is how we grow and evolve. We're all walking each other home in that sense.
I'm gonna go home with no friends, no man, no nothing. I'm gonna take all of this and put it into place. I promise.
I'm saying though, and it takes time, you know. It takes time, and you got to be patient with yourself.
That's true.
When I talk about our environment, you know, our mothers or our fathers, our guardians, they heavily influence how we grow up, right? And our perceptions even, because, you know, as children, we grow up, we're not really concerned about what it is that we have on or how we look to other people. It's not until your mom or your grandma or somebody sits and says to you, you're not going outside like that, because you want people to think that we ain't got no, you know, that we look like we live like this, you know. So these are perceptions that have been taught to us through our environment from early on. So our perception has been formed at a very, very early age on how we look to other people, you know, and overplacing value in that. We don't necessarily see healthy examples of relationships. We don't grow up seeing healthy examples. I don't really know too many relationships that I could look at to say that is exactly what I want. And it's kind of, it's really deep, you know, psychologically. when we talk about patterns and cycles, one of the most common, obviously, they have mother and father wounds. And with the mother wound, depending on, obviously, everybody's circumstances are different, but essentially, when we talk about generational patterns, these are things that are carried throughout generations. And so, if my mother's mom necessarily may not have been there while she was growing up and developing, there are things that she developed along her journey and passed on to me.
Learned behaviors.
Those learned behaviors. And as you're a child, they begin to become pushed on you. And so part of the mother wound is where you kind of find yourself comparing yourself to other women. You kind of find yourself shrinking yourself around other people to feel accepted. You kind of don't feel good enough. You don't feel accepted or validated. You're placing your value again outside of yourself. And these are things that generationally have been passed down. So, you know, from a psychological perspective, when you begin to really tap into these things, the mother wound, the father wound, many of us are carrying these learned behaviors with us into adulthood and playing them out through patterns in our relationships. And so I really found myself intrigued with the mother wound and recognized that between having both the mother wound and a father wound, that I developed certain patterns and was attracting certain relationships that were revealing these patterns, that were showing me how I was seeking love outside of myself, you know. And not for nothing, I happen to also feel like society at large and our economy is driven and it thrives off of the fact that we don't trust ourselves and the fact that we don't find our own self-worth and value within ourselves.
It's sad.
It really is sad.
Yeah.
It's sad. This is how you find people who will not have a place to live that's comfortable, but will have a $100,000 car.
Yeah.
That will be buying name brand and designer things that they can't afford to validate their existence, to validate that they're important, rather than realizing and recognizing that they already are.
Yeah.
So it's a thing.
It's the world we live in. Yeah.
It is.
Jeez.
It is. It's a thing, you know, and I feel like that played a major part with me as well, just like a bunch of girls that are our peers, whether older or younger, that we're not realizing and recognizing that anything that we're watching subconsciously is creating a program within inside of us. It's we're desiring things outside of us to come save us. And I'm not sitting up here saying that I refuse, I don't want a man and I'd never be in a relationship. Absolutely. I know I deserve love and I know I will have the love that I deserve when the time is right. But I'm no longer seeking for that. I'm no longer basing my happiness on whether or not I have a man in my life or I don't.
Yeah.
I'm no longer attributing my success in life to being a wife and mother.
Yeah.
You know, it's more so about me knowing who it is that I am and walking as I am before getting into a relationship with another. Therefore, when I'm with someone, we are now not 50-50 making 100. We're 100 and 100 making 200.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where I'm at with it. So the mother wound connects to a high tolerance for poor treatment from others, comparison consistently, not being your full self, not feeling accepted by others, or like I said, feeling like you have to shrink yourself, minimize yourself in certain environments to make other people comfortable or to not feel threatened by you. You know, so these are all things that come with that mother wound. And obviously there's a lot more, but I think that, and I feel that people need to become more aware of these core wounds so that they're actually able to heal from themselves, and not only their experiences but themselves. And it's a process of unlearning. This is why I always tell people, like, you got to give yourself grace and patience while you're doing this and you're going through this work, because you're literally unlearning years. If I'm 35 years old, I've had to unpack 35 years of what has been programmed in me, what has been put in me, what I've subconsciously picked up throughout my childhood up until a certain point. So it takes time. It is an unlayering, it is an unfoldment, and it's a process.
Don't feel me now, I need you Don't feel me now, I need you I imagine those colorless skies, window down and we're caught in the fire. You can let the breeze cool you.